Want to welcome this man back to the show right now for another weekly chat. He's Jeff Erickson from our team at rotowire.com, your one-stop shop for fantasy sports. Jeff looks nice and comfortable this week. How are you, Mr. Erickson?
I am comfortable. It's a little chilly outside, so got the sweatshirt weather finally, so it's all good. But got the Christmas lights up today. It's a productive day. Pretty happy.
Very nice. That's good to hear. In the meantime, if people are listening to this segment and they say the audio sounds a little different, well, my laptop was just upgraded from Windows 8 to Windows 10. And there are probably a lot of little nuances I haven't figured out yet, which includes the audio card that's now in for Windows 10 in this conversation. So hopefully it sounds good to people. I'm hoping. Adrian, does the quality of the Zoom call sound pretty good for Mr. Erickson?
It sounds fantastic. I would say that it sounds like he got a new mic when he joined us right now. And in fact, he did not. It's his computer audio, which is awesome.
Good. I like that. That's good to hear. All right, Jeff, I don't know what to do today. I'm at a loss. I mean, normally we spend, 15, 20 minutes talking fantasy football, but there's so much baseball that's happened in the last week. I feel like it would be a disservice to our listeners if we did not at least dissect all the big moves involving what's going on in the winter meetings.
Oh, I'd agree. It's been a great winter meetings, and we've missed that. Last year we had the lockout, the owners lockout. Let's clarify that. The year before we had COVID, so we didn't have a real winter meetings then either. So yeah, that's great stuff. Let's go to it.
All right, let's just dive into it right now and go to the big ones, because there's a lot of fantasy moves that could change values. Maybe some will impact, some won't. Aaron Judge stays with the Yankees, so he will not change as far as his fantasy value goes. I was so interested, though, if he went to the Giants, would his fantasy value have taken a hit, or do you think it would have either increased or stayed the same?
No, I think it would have been hurt a little bit just because it's a tougher ballpark to hit home runs in. And I think the lineup around him needs multiple bats. It needs more than just Judge, although Judge would have been a great start. I do think it was funny how we had that false positive from John Heyman. Said it was, he was signing with the Giants, called him Arson Judge by accident because of the typo and all that. Good time was had for about 12 seconds there, but it was pretty funny.
That sounds awesome. Were you able to go to the winter meetings, or did you stay back at home?
I've only once gone. And honestly, I'm not a reporter. So I wasn't, I don't know what I would do at the winter meetings. You try to network, I suppose, but at the same time, it's okay. The time I did it, I had just lost, there was a period where I was just on XM, not before the merger, Sirius XM. After the merger, they took away the fantasy show on the baseball channel. So I was like, okay, I need to find a radio home. Didn't really help that much to do that. But it was fun to see people I knew. I did get to see that. So that was good. But, honestly, I can react to the news just as readily here than as I can from there.
Sounds like it. I agree with you. All right, so let's talk about what happened last night. Xander Bogaerts to the Padres and the fantasy ramifications there.
Huge because, he got 11 years. That was a big surprise to a lot of people there. The amount of money was obviously dwarfed what the Red Sox were offering and what most people thought he'd go for, too. It takes another big name off the top. I think people were surprised it was San Diego. I know they were in at the last minute on Judge. So it's not that they're spending money. We see that they're willing to spend money. It's that they wanted to get one more bat, and it's that shortstop. This commits them to moving Tatis to the outfield. Because even before they were still thinking about doing that when they had Ha-Sung Kim at short, Cronenworth at second. Now you add Bogaerts, another middle infielder there. This allows Cronenworth to go to first base possibly, and Kim over to second. They have a lot of different options, but some people are saying that, okay, once they missed on Turner, they weren't going to get a shortstop. Turns out they were. Now there's still two great shortstops out there in Correa and Dansby. So we'll see what happens with those two, but it's pretty wild.
From a fantasy standpoint, where do you rank Correa and Swanson compared to Bogaerts?
I have Swanson ahead of Bogaerts, but Correa well after.
Okay.
Correa doesn't run, first of all. So, from that standpoint, you've got that drags his value a little bit there. He's also hasn't stayed on the field. Correa is the best defensive guy, and he's younger than any of the other shortstops too. So he hit the majors so much younger. But that said, fantasy wise, I think he trails his real life value a little bit.
Trey Turner to the Phillies, that has to just take his value, which was high with the Dodgers, and either keep it the same, or even maybe go a little higher with Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, I think it's about the same. I think it's it's a good match, that's for sure. A good ballpark to hit in. You got that going for you. So there's a lot of good things to like about that move from his standpoint, from a fantasy perspective there. Dodgers, I mean, they could really actually use a shortstop. I know they're saying that they could move Gavin Lux there, but I don't know. I kind of think, guys, I don't think he would be a good shortstop there. I've seen him throw as a second baseman, and it doesn't look good. So from that standpoint, from that vantage point, I think they need to do something still. And the Dodgers, they're actually like sitting at like 190 million right now, which for us, that's a huge sum of money, but for the Dodgers, that's as low as they've been in a long time. So I expect them to jump back into the pool at some point in time. They've lost a lot of talent so far, though.
I agree with you on that completely. What about the big pitching move, and that's Jake DeGrom going to the Rangers?
It's a bold move by the Rangers because look at the number of innings he's thrown. My friend Joe Sheehan wrote about this the other day. Nobody has ever committed this sort of length and this sort of dollars relative to the market for a pitcher that's been hurt so much the last 3 years. But they're trying, this is the Rangers. They need to overpay a little bit to kind of get, maybe not overpay, but you know what I mean? Like they have to make these bold moves to try to launch themselves because they weren't like close to competing last year. They were still well below 500. And their pitching, and it was the pitching that's holding them back. They really needed to upgrade their pitching. They've done that, though. They got Haney as well. I think that they've upgraded their rotation a good amount. We'll see. I hope DeGrom stays healthy. Baseball's better when he is healthy. But it was shocking to see the Rangers be the team that won that.
I'm totally in agreement with you. When we segue over to football, Adrian, you'll let's kick that off for us with your first question for Jeff, and then we'll go from there. But more baseball to get to. The Mets lose DeGrom, but they pick up Justin Verlander, and they also get, we found out yesterday, Jose Quintana to try to get some veterans in that rotation. Thoughts on that?
Youth movement. No. Verlander was the next best option out there. It's a 2-year deal. It's what teams can often try to do. Have a shorter contract, but pay more money. I think it's kind of smart. I don't mind that at all. I thought that was a pretty cagey move by them. So yeah, and they needed to do something about that rotation. They also lost Taijuan Walker, remember, too. So they had to replace some guys. They need Carlos Carrasco to stay healthy. I don't know what they're going to get out of David Peterson. I don't know what they're going to get out of, Gil. I mean, there's a lot. There's a black box there. We don't really know what's going to happen with them.
Meanwhile, you mentioned Walker. He goes also to the Phillies on a 4-year contract, and he's going to slot in as really their number 4 starter.
Yeah, I like that from the Phillies, especially if their defense starts to improve. Getting Turner is probably going to help that a lot, too. So I like that.
I agree with you. Other news, the Cubs have been busy. Jameson Taillon, and then they also took a flyer on Cody Bellinger. Let's talk about those moves.
Yeah. The Bellinger one makes sense. Take a chance, 1-year deal. He's betting on himself. They're betting on trying to get, fix him and maybe either flip him or get some sort of loyalty for the upcoming year. After if he does turn it around, and it's hard to have a bad 1-year contract. Taillon, he's another number 3 starter on a team full of number 3 starters, and they didn't keep Wilson Contreras. So I don't really understand what the Cubs are trying to do. I think they're spending some money. Spending money is good. You want your team to try to contend, but I'm not really sure they're all in, and that's the problem. I think they've just got this team full of 3 starters and these team full of like number 6 hitters. Maybe Bellinger comes back to MVP form, in which case they've got a stud, but I think it's an empty lineup otherwise.
Wilson Contreras to the Cardinals screams fantasy gold to me. You agree?
I think it's good for him. Just because he's in a good lineup. I think the ballpark is a little lesser, but man, it's so good for the Cardinals. As a Reds fan, I'm angry because the Cardinals are here doing this smart things and going to be the one team in the division that's really trying to win. So yeah, it just buffers a already good lineup. And this is, Yachty couldn't hit last year, so it's a big improvement from in the catcher spot.
Giants have always found a way to resurrect some guys that didn't have value in other organizations. I look at like Mike Yastrzemski and what he's done the last few years. Is that going to be the same thing with Mitch Haniger, who just has had a hard time staying healthy? But if he can stay healthy, is he one of those guys that the Giants can, bring that magic back?
Well, I think he has it I think it's always health. I don't think ability's doubted here. I think it's just a matter of staying on the field. And I don't know if the Giants have a magic elixir for that. But it's a good bat to add. This is a bat they needed to add to that lineup. I think it's a good addition.
Josh Bell to the Indians for 2 years. How do you like that?
Smart signing. I think that one's a perfect fit for the Guardians.
I'm sorry, the Guardians. My apologies. But old habits die hard.
Oh, I didn't even notice, to be honest with you.
That's okay.
It fits. This is a team that's really got a good young core. They needed another bat in the middle of that lineup, and Josh Bell is that. And he's a switch hitter. They would have been ideal for Judge too, but they're never going to spend that sort of money. But nonetheless, 2-year deal. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. I think that's a pretty smart signing by them. And for Bell, I would have thought he could have got 3 or 4 years, but this is a pretty good signing for him. I mean, this is a good lineup. At least he's going to be on a good team.
I would assume Kenley Jansen takes a hit going to Boston for 2 years.
Well, we know he's going to close at least. There's
That's
no
true.
doubt about that.
How many games will he close?
I don't think they're going to go any sort of committee unless it's by merit. I'm a little worried about him. I'm a little worried about his health. Old Warhorse closes go away very slowly. They don't really, he'll get plenty of chances, but I'm probably not going to pay retail price for him. There are other closers I'd rather have first. I might take his replacement, Raisel Iglesias, before him.
Okay. I feel like we've hit on all the big baseball moves. Is there anything I'm forgetting that you could think of offhand?
I mean, how could you forget all the Reds being? Oh, never mind. I think this is a fun winter meetings. There's still Dansby out there. There's still Correa out there. There's a few other still decent names. We checked a lot of boxes stuff. Carlos Rodon, that's the best pitcher available. Brandon Nimmo, I think the Mets really need to get Nimmo back. I don't think they have a real center fielder on their roster otherwise.
We're back with Jeff Erickson from rotowire.com. Adrian, let's turn it over right now to fantasy football.
Jeff, want to ask you specifically about the Baltimore Ravens. Hey, look, fantasy's winding down right now. It's playoff time. Everybody's trying to get ready for playoffs and trying to get that final seed. And then those owners of Lamar Jackson get the tough news that he's out right now. One of the more polarizing fantasy players that we have. What do those fantasy owners do if you do have Lamar? I do not have Lamar on my team. I'll give you that full disclosure. And B, what happens to the skill position players? Guys like Kenyon Drake, guys who are among the receiving core.
Okay, so if you've been trying to play the Ravens running back game all year, it's been a fool's game already, because it's already hard to judge who's going to be the guy in a given week. So I think it's a very null impact there. But Mark Andrews actually did better with Huntley last year because Huntley just trained in on him constantly. We saw Huntley at least last year. So I'd advise going to pick him up. He's probably the best guy you're going to find on the waiver wire, better than Brock Purdy on the Niners. In a single quarterback league, maybe you can find some guys, but some people, I've never seen a week 14 where I have 6 teams on bye like this. No Fields, no Rodgers. There's only 2 quarterbacks really they have to deal with missing. I mean, the Falcons announced they're going to switch quarterbacks when they come back from the bye. But still there's players. I mean, there's just a volume of players out this week. And I have never seen that in the final regular season of our fantasy leagues like this before. So it's unprecedented times, but yeah, go get Huntley. I think he's actually a pretty decent start this week.
Raiders and Rams are going to kick off in less than an hour. Who do you like with those 2 teams tonight?
The Jacobs and Adams, obviously. I think you can start Carr, Foster, Moreau. On the Rams, it's really straining to find guys you could use. Cam Akers got 17 carries last week, 2 touchdowns, so I guess he's the guy this week. Although McVay drives me crazy how they all shuffle the running backs. Kyron Williams looked like he was ascendant, and then he got 3 touches last week. All 3 quarterbacks for the Rams are active, including Baker Mayfield. Mayfield got more of the snaps in the pregame warmup this afternoon than the other 2 quarterbacks. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mayfield plays tonight. They're just unusable, and any of the pass catchers are unusable as a result of that too.
Now, I know Cam Akers had a couple of touchdown runs last week. He didn't have a lot of yards per carry, but it seems like the Rams are finally committed to giving him some opportunities.
Yeah, they are this week. But like I said, McVay drives us crazy. 1 week it's Akers, 1 week Akers isn't coming back to the team at all. Next week he's the main carrier. Darrell Henderson was released. I mean, they're just, I don't know what they're doing. And I don't know if they know what they're doing. But then again, their flags fly forever. They got their title last year. They're paying the bill for that this year with like the lack of depth on their team. and they can go through a bad year like this.
Congrats to your Cincinnati Bengals, Jeff, who it seem like they're catching a nice stride right now, getting Jamar Chase back in the mix. How does their fantasy value just increase knowing that they got one of their best weapons back in Chase?
It's great. They were able to figure some things out on the offensive line. The defense may do while DJ Reader was out. They still lost Awuzie for the season, so that hurts a little bit. But this is a team that's playing well, and they play well against the Chiefs for some reason, better than the rest of the league, really. But they don't play well against the Browns. They've lost the last 3 against the Browns, and 2 of those were started by Burrow. So gonna watch. I'm a little nervous about this game, even though I should be super excited and confident. The thing about the Bengals is they're still tied for the division lead with the Ravens, and the Ravens have the hammer right now. They have the head-to-head win and the better schedule. The Bengals have a nasty schedule. After the Browns this week, they go to Tampa Bay, then to New England. They host the Bills, and then they host the Ravens. So, a hard schedule. But that's what comes with the first place schedule. You understand that that's the breaks, but still, it's something that's going to be pretty challenging for them.
If you still have OBJ available right now in a fantasy league, do you jump on him, or are you a little hesitant after the reports that the Cowboys are worried about his current physical and not knowing if he's going to be able to come back this year from that injury?
Not only do I not have OBJ anywhere, I haven't put a bid on him anywhere. Good luck. I hope he comes back, but I'm a skeptic. He's not even working out for teams. He'll disclose medical records, but he won't work out for teams. I don't see how teams are going to sign him with that, let alone play him, let alone see him become very productive in the span of 5 weeks here. 4 weeks now, because he's not going to play this week either. So yeah, good luck. I hope he comes back in time for the playoffs and he helps somebody out, but I won't be on my roster.
Deshaun Watson just came back, looked rusty, as some people expected, and kind of makes you wonder if you can trust him as a top 10 fantasy quarterback between now and the end of the season.
No, I don't think you can. Not this week. Looking rusty. I think he looked like Mater on Cars, that rusty there. But I think that's to be expected, though. He hadn't played in a live game in 700 days. And, that showed. So we'll see. But I think that he's going to be someone that is going to get better as the course of the season goes by. I don't think it happens this week. I hope. But then again, I may have a rooting interest in that respect. I can't start him right now. I think maybe at the end of the season, I might be able to, depending on the matchup, but not this week.
Who do you like this week? Let's talk about guys we have not discussed yet, players at key spots that you think could have some big weeks, especially with some of the normal guys on bye.
Right. So Jeff Wilson killed you last week. Had 1 carry, had 2 targets. He didn't come up with either of those. 0 points for you. Start him this week. He's playing the Chargers. Chargers run defense is historically bad. I think he bounces back, and he bounces back pretty well. I think, I like him even a little bit better than his teammate Raheem Mostert. I mean, I want to watch some practice reports on that to see if that I can confirm that, but I think he's going to have a pretty good game. So, don't get discouraged by that bad game, bench him, and then see him go off on your bench. I think he's actually going to be pretty good this week.
Okay. Any players to avoid right now, Jeff?
Yeah, always. The one thing of it is the Chiefs, I expect them to win and win comfortably against the Broncos, but the Broncos defense remains intact. Opposing quarterbacks have the worst fantasy points per game against the Broncos than any other team in the league. 5 point and pass yards per attempt is like 5.92. It's a tough team to pass against. So they drag you into the muck. I expect this to be like a 22-13 game.
Okay. Now let's talk about what you've got up at rotowire.com. I noticed beating the book for fantasy football fans, talking about the Dolphins, winning and just predictions for week 14. That's up there. You got daily plays. You got the breakdown for tonight, game previews, your value meter. There's just a ton of stuff, isn't there?
Absolutely. My radio colleague, Nick Whalen, does the Beating the Book article. You can check it all out if you want. Without a credit card, you can get a free trial, get a peek behind the paywall. Just go to rotowire.com/free. No credit card required. Just when it expires, it'll go away. We'll ask you if you want to subscribe or not. Just all you need is a valid email address. If you say no or do nothing, then nothing happens and it just goes away.
For baseball fans, I'm looking right now at what came out a couple of weeks ago, and that is James Anderson's latest update with the dynasty rankings and 10 rookies to keep an eye on for next season.
Yeah, James, that's a very popular article from him too, because it has a lot of current prospects, guys that can help you right away, which I like too. He's already doing a bunch of drafts. He's already doing a weekly podcast as well as his rankings. So yeah, lots of baseball coverage. Todd Zola, Jason Collette writing weekly still all throughout the offseason. Projections are up on the site right now. I have to do some tweaking here and there, but they're up there. Outlooks for the players are too. So if you go to a player page, you can see his projection for 2023.
Awesome stuff. Hey, great talking to you. How's the weather out there in California? Looking a little chilly. You got the hoodie on right now. What's going on?
Yes, sir. Well, I have the thin California blood now too. So a high of 55 today, low of 39. A little frost on the windshield today. So that's a little experience. So we got that going for us.
39 in Southern California. I'm impressed it's starting to drop down that low.
Yeah. I think we're even going to get some rain this weekend, which, hey, we always will welcome that. We don't get enough of it here.
How'd the avocados do this year?
Oh, they're good. They're about ready to be picked.
Oh, so you haven't even picked the avocados yet. I didn't realize that
picked some,
season.
but
all right.
So the thing is, they're not falling off the tree yet. So that usually implies that they're not quite right. But you don't want to wait too late either when they're just falling the whole time. You need it, especially with so many of them. We can't eat them all at once. So we're starting to picking them now. Just ripen them up in a brown paper bag. Give it a few days, and it should be soft enough to cut and start eating again. So it's good stuff.
There will be a guacamole party at the Erickson house. We might not be invited, but they're guaranteed. Will be plenty of avocados over there. All right, listen, great stuff as always. Look forward to doing it right back here with you again next week. Thanks for the time, Jeff.
You bet, Steve. Take care.
You too.